Pick it up, move your bag, move it over here, set it somewhere safe out of your way. Okay, the first thing we need, if there's a power supply, so we want to go ahead and put it in now. Okay, you've got all these cables, and the one thing that you got to make sure that you've got, of course, all of them are going to have your main motherboard cable, but there's going to be one, like this one here, has got just 4 slots. So what you want to do is to make sure that you don't have a slot on the motherboard that needs 6, because that means it needs to have a bigger power supply. So we're going to check to see what this one needs, if I can find it. Here it is in the back. And usually this socket is usually close to the CPU unit. Okay, see, here's the one with the 6, with the 4. Sometimes you'll look at these and you'll have 6, which means you need to get a different power supply. So when you get a power supply from the used computer place, make sure you get the right power supply for the right board. This one just slides in there right there, which will go in later. And then of course your main one, which is this one, that will go in right there. And here's something else. Now when you get your hard drives, you have to make sure that you get the right power supply plug for your hard drive, because if you get the hard drive that's got the old style plug in it, or I'm saying the what am I saying, the old hard drive that's got the old pins for power, then you got to make sure you get those hard drives. Or you can get a clip-on that turns them into like this one, which this is the new, for the new hard drive, and you can see the difference. There is a huge difference in them, so you want to make sure you get the right one. You want all the stuff, like I said, it'll only go one way, so when you do put it in that one way, make sure all your stuff is facing toward the back of the can. Well, evidently I got it in upside down, so we'll flip it around, try it again. There we go. No, there we go. Okay, now we got it in right. Okay, we just got to get our 4 screws and put in there. I'm only going to put 2 in here. It's supposed to be 4. Okay, we've got all our connections, so we need to kind of make sure they stay out of the way. But what you got to do is you got to make sure there's a whole lot of different holes that these little brass, let me put it right there so you can see what I'm talking about. See these little brass connections? That's the screw, and this is the brass thing that goes into the case. Well, you have to know where they're located. Now a lot of these are numbered. Like here you got one that says P4. Here you got one that says P4. Another one up here, where my finger, right there, P4. But then you have an A. See? An A. Over here you have an A. Over here, well, you kind of get the idea. Okay, so you got to make sure you put all the right connectors in the right place. So take the screw out of this thing so that you have just the connector itself. and most of these cases will already have them in there. If not, you can look on, if you get an instruction sheet. If not, just probably the best thing to do, kind of take your board, just hover it about where it goes, and then you can just kind of figure out where they go. You know, like you got, here's a hole here, we have nothing there, so we need to move this in one. We got to move this in one over one. So now we got to figure out the other ones. Well, one thing I'm showing you wrong, I got the thing turned around backwards. Darn it. There we go. See, all this stuff goes to the back. And here I've had it facing the front. So we'll try it again. Okay, set this in there. And keep these wires out of the way. Okay, there's those, there's that. Okay. Now if you're ever concerned about anything, oh boy. If you're ever concerned about building up static electricity, okay, if you're ever concerned about building up electricity, static, just plug in your, make sure the power supply is turned off, just plug it into the wall, then you got a automatic ground right here. You can just touch it or keep your arm against it or whatever. You can see there's a plate that goes over here that just lets this stick out the back and keeps the rest of it closed up. These things are sometimes so hard to hit. Okay, make sure you put the 4-pin on the 4-pin. Okay, here's the one we were talking about here. Okay, it goes over here, right down in there. Got to make sure it's facing the right way. Like I said, it'll only go one way. Okay, push that down till you hear it snap. Then you got your big one. That goes right here. So you can see which side the clip is on. Okay, got that in. Front panel.